Senior Moments, sponsored by the Empowering Seniors Group on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Senior Moment Show. My name is Bryce Patton, here with Sid Roeder, my wonderful co-host. Sid, how are you?
Oh, you're just trying to make my Saturday, aren't you?
I am. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're here, and I'm not having to do it by myself.
I'm glad I'm here too.
We're braving the cold, and yeah, it's good. I'm excited for our guest. But before we get to our guest, you want to tell us about our sponsor?
I would be delighted to. Our sponsor is the Empowering Seniors Group, which is a group of professionals that has dedicated their time and effort to provide information to seniors, their family members, and really everybody who likes to listen to us. And we do so via this radio show. If you'd like to learn more about the Empowering Seniors Group, you can do so online at empoweringseniors.info, or you can email us at empoweringseniors.cv@gmail.com, and the CV stands for Cache Valley. And lastly, if you have any suggestion for this show, anyone you would like to see us invite, you can call me personally at 435-512-6406.
Wonderful. Have you gotten any phone calls lately?
Not for a few weeks, actually. So,
okay. All
yeah.
right. Well, if you're out there listening, you have an idea, give Sid a call. All right. Let's get to our guest. We have Dan Hamilton, the community liaison for Atlas Home Care and Hospice, with us today. And I know you, Dan, pretty well. But for our audience out there, would you like to just tell us about yourself, how you got into doing home care and hospice, and what your role is?
That's a big question.
It is. I want you to talk a lot.
So home health is something that, in a way, I kind of accidentally got into. And it's something I love. I love doing now because I have the opportunity to know that at the end of every day, I've been of service to people, frankly. That's what this comes down to, is just finding a way to help people who need it at a time when, they're frankly most desperate in a way. And it's really thrilling to know that I can offer that service. And but I got into it in a very weird way. I did this. I was a broadcast journalist for a large portion of my career. I went here to Utah State. I graduated from broadcast journalism. I went to work in TV news, and I did that for many, many years before I decided I need to do something different. And, jumped out of that world to get into the marketing world. And it's from there that I ended up working at a home health company. Really loved it. Transitioned from that to assisted living, and worked in assisted living for many years. Before kind of transitioning back into home health and hospice, and it's just been a wonderful decision that I made in my life, and for that of my family, and hopefully for those that we help on a daily basis.
That actually brings me to my first question, Dan, for our listeners, because I know I struggled with understanding exactly which segments of the market cover what, because we have home care and medical home care and hospice. Can you explain that?
Well, the easiest answer is that in the home health world and hospice world, that's something that insurance is going to cover. It's more medical in nature. And so it's a necessity that your doctor probably prescribed us to come in and help you with. So insurance is going to cover that. In the world in which Bryce works, in the home care world, there are some insurances that do cover that, but it's not necessarily medical in nature. So they're going to be able to help you with other things, just to make sure that you are safe and things like that. But we can come in and we can do skilled nursing related to wound care. We can do physical therapy. We can do occupational therapy, speech therapies, all those kinds of things that are more medical in nature, and get you back on your feet and hopefully doing what you do best.
And how long do those? So you're talking about skilled nursing with wound care and physical therapy, occupational therapy. How long does that typically last? Do they just keep coming in indefinitely, or do you have a set amount of time that they come in and help them in their home, and then hopefully they're better and on their way?
Well, it really depends on the patient. The patient's going to determine how long we're in there. The general rule of thumb is that on average, we're going to be in your home, of course, depending on what we're doing, for around 3 to 5 weeks, 2 to 3 times a week in that period of time, unless it's hospice, and then that's more long term. But on the home health world, we can come in and perform those duties until you get to the point where you are back up and back on your feet and doing the things that you want to do, and that you've reached goals along the line, that you haven't necessarily plateaued, but or you are not declining anymore. So as long as you continue to improve, we can keep you on, and then we're just going to get to a point where we've, just like your doctor does, if you've gotten better, we've done our job, we discharge you and get out.
So what's the typical way this works, Dan? Is it always a doctor recommended process when people contact you, or is this also something that's self-driven?
Well, both, really. The families, the individual, if you're feeling, let's just take, for example, an individual who might be experiencing more falls in their home. That's just one thing, but there's a whole lot of things that could be happening to you. And if you're feeling like, I'm just not doing as great as I used to do, whether it be age or an injury or something like that that's causing the problem, the individual can reach out to their doctor. You can reach out to us. We can reach out to your doctor. In the end, somebody's going to reach out to the doctor, and sometimes it is us, and we're just going to the doctor's door and saying, "Hey, can we get an order for this particular individual?" So you can certainly call us and say, I have these particular issues going on. Is this something that I would be appropriate to enter into the home health world for? And we can track down your doctor and request the orders and get those going for you.
Okay. So as they're talking to their doctor and they go in, let's say they don't call you and they want to talk to their doctor about what's going on, does the doctor make recommendations, or can the client say, "Hey, I want to go with this company," when they do? How does that kind of work?
The doctor might make a recommendation based on their own personal preferences, but most of them will say, "Which company would you like to use?" So hopefully you have an idea what company you would like to use when you go in, and you might have had some experience with them based on some previous issues that's gone on in your life. So you like the CNA, or you liked a particular nurse or a particular therapist. The funny thing is, a lot of us in this world kind of work with some of the same people. It's a very small world when it comes to home health. So yeah, we have the opportunity to work with. We work with pretty much any doctor. That's not going to be an issue. It's just going to be a matter of preference. Do you like one home health company over another, or one hospice company over another, and request that company, because that way the order gets sent to the right company.
Thank you, Dan. We're coming up on our first break here in a hurry, so this just leaves us enough time. If somebody would like to get in touch with you to see if you're a good fit, how would they go about that?
Well, glad I brought my card. I don't usually call our office number, but if you want to reach out to our office, the number there is 801-771-9099. You can certainly reach me on my own cell phone. Please call me, and I can walk you through if you have questions, concerns. If you don't want home health, but you just want to know how this thing works a little bit better, give me a call. My number is 208-914-8894. I did move back here from Idaho, so I still kept my Idaho number, but I'm originally from the area, so don't think anything less of me. But yeah, please give me a call.
Thank you, Dan. This is the Senior Moments Show. We're going to take a short break. Stay tuned.
This is Oliver with Cache Valley Pharmacy and owner of Focus Pharmacology, Cache Valley's own premier supplement line. With the beginning of the new year and everyone's health and pocketbooks in focus, we are offering buy one, get one free on all our locally made high quality supplements. With already competitive cash pricing, along with our state-of-the-art lab for all your compound needs, why go anywhere else? Start your new year off right and come to Cache Valley Pharmacy today. Cache Valley Pharmacy, keeping it local. Online at cachevalleypharmacy.com.
Did you know that one of the greatest threats to our quality of life is a fall? 1/3 of Americans 65 and older, and 1/2 of those over 80 will fall this year. Many will never be the same again, and some will never return to their homes. This is Bruce at Comfort Care. One of the ways we can help people stay in their home is through our free in-home fall protection survey. Let us help you identify these fall risks. Call us at 754-7676. Comfort Care, 754-7676.
Are you tired of feeling unwell and not knowing why? At Next Level Health and Wellness, we hear you. We specialize in uncovering the root causes of your discomfort, whether it's gut health, hormone imbalances, or emotional and mental blocks. With personalized plans, advanced lab testing, and evidence-based holistic nutrition practices, we guide you toward lasting health and wholeness. Awaken your healing potential with a team that listens, understands, and supports you wherever you are. Visit nextlevelhw.com to start your journey to feeling better today.
At Maple Springs Senior Living in North Logan, we understand that entrusting the care of your loved one to someone else is a decision not taken lightly. That's why we go above and beyond to create a nurturing environment where your family becomes our family.
When I found Maple Springs, it was like a weight lifted off my shoulders. The staff here really cares, and Mom is thriving.
The activities and social events have brought so much joy to Dad's life. I can see a positive change every time I visit.
We know that your loved one's well-being is your top priority, and it's ours too. Learn more at maplesprings.living.com.
And welcome back to the Senior Moments Show. My name is Bryce Patton, here with Sid Roeder, my co-host. And we've been speaking with Dan Hamilton, the community liaison from Atlas Home Care and Hospice. And he's been telling us all the things that go on with home care, the differences with medical and non-medical. Dan, over the break, we were just wondering, what kind of success stories or what kind of things should people expect from once they're done with home health?
Well, hopefully you've expected that you're back up and moving the way you used to do, and that's usually the biggest issue. For example, we work with a lot of surgery patients who have had knee replacements, hip replacements, shoulder, surgeries, things like that. And really, what we're looking for in those kinds, and really with any of the patients that we work with, is when we're leaving your home, we want you to be feeling like, okay, I'm ready to take this on again. I'm much better than I used to be. And with those, for example, surgery patients, I think this is true with a lot of patients, is that people put off what they need. And so they might go into a surgery and say, I can handle this. And you don't know until you get home that, okay, this is a lot worse than I thought it was going to be. Maybe I could do outpatient therapy and I don't have to have somebody coming to my home, which is great. But then you get home and the drugs wear off, and you say, well, okay, this was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And home health is awesome for that. We will probably still transition you to do some outpatient later, but take up the home health side, because more than anything, it's going to be cost effective for you, but it's going to be very effective to work with the patient in their home, in a world in which they live, where the therapist can actually see, what are you working on every day in terms of stairs, in terms of getting to the bathroom, getting to your bed, getting to those things that you do on a regular basis, and what kind of functionality are you going, or problems with functionality are you going through? In that environment, we work with you and get you in the position where you can handle that day-to-day stuff before you move on into progressing into running marathons again and things like that. But the best thing about home health, too, on top of everything else, is it's essentially free. Insurance covers it 100%. You don't even have a copay with home health. And that is not true if you decide, well, I'm just going to go straight to outpatient. I'm well enough that I can just do outpatient therapy or something like that. You will have a copay, and you will have a certain amount of outpatient days that you can do every year. So we always say, do the home health side, exhaust our abilities in your home, and then go into outpatient, because you probably have to do some of that kind of stuff anyway. Of course, we're talking about therapies and not other things that we do, skilled nursing and wound care and those kinds of things. But the reality is, we want to get you to the point where when we're done, we're done. And if we come back in, it's because you've probably had another occurrence of something. You've had another incident. You had another fall. You did something else. But that original thing we were there for is taken care of. And sometimes, we see patients, particularly in the older generation, that they might have gotten to a point, even through home health, that we recognize that there's a need to transition, and that's where the hospice side comes in, where they're not getting better, they're not improving to the level that we would like to see them do so, and it might be time to be talking about hospice in that world.
Okay, you just said hospice.
Yeah.
And I know that one, it comes up, and every time it comes up, everyone's like, whoa, that's death. We don't even want to think about that right now. Like, what do you say to people when they are like, whoa, no, I don't want to do that. That means mom's dying.
Well, that's a hard thing to get past. I think that's the thing that's in anybody's mind. If I talk about hospice, that means my loved one is going to be dying. And the reality is that's not always the case. Sometimes we put people on hospice and they improve to the point where we have to take them off hospice. But what we want to accomplish is getting mom and dad, getting grandma and grandpa, whoever it is, a level of care that they deserve at a very difficult time. Those that delay using hospice, often come back and say, oh, I should have done this much, much earlier, especially when we get into the home and start working with them and they can see the benefits that we provide. To have a regular nurse coming in and a CNA and chaplain services and social work services, and there's a lot of stuff that comes with hospice care that doesn't necessarily mean mom and dad are dying. Maybe that's something that does happen, and we are in a way kind of anticipating that that's a possibility.
So I've got a technical question there, and then maybe I'm remembering wrong, but is there a time limit on hospice care?
It's a hard question to answer because it's sort of a yes and no. Okay. We look at any hospice patient as in, from a very general perspective, is this someone who has a potential of possibly passing away within the next 6 months or so? So in terms of a time limit, that's kind of it. We have periods of time that we have to, get paperwork and stuff again if we've reached that point. And but the reality is there are some patients that have been on for years. It just depends on how they progress. Are they continuing to decline? Are they plateauing? Are they improving? At some point in that world, if they're improving, we have to discharge, and we have to get them, probably transition back to home health, or send them back home and see how they do. We see that a lot. There are some tremendous success stories, but at the same time, when I say success stories, some of that also involves them passing away. It is an incredibly sacred experience to be in that home when that process is going on, and the family is often, without realizing it, desperate to have that help. That we've been in that process many, many times. We know what's going to come next. We know how to help you and your loved one through that process and make it much more comfortable. We want to make sure it's a very comfortable process.
Dan, a quick question for my organizational mind. Do you have all of the different skills or therapists in-house, or do you collaborate? How does that look?
We do both. I think every company does both. We have our own in-house nurses and CNAs and caregivers that we work with. We have our own physical therapists and occupational therapists, but we also contract with outside companies as well to help us with that, because it's important to have groups of people who come from different worlds, who can work with patients who have worked outside, have worked in the outpatient world and things like that, and they can see maybe this patient would do better in this particular environment versus another, and work with them in those ways. Maybe they have different tools that they work with. And so, but generally speaking, we work with our own people, or we have a very close-knit group of contracted individuals that we work with, and we continue to work with. Those relationships are incredibly important, because at the end of the day, we have to be able to communicate well with each other, and that's the best way to do it. We all know each other very, very well.
That is great. Thank you, Dan. We're already coming up on our second break here, so let me briefly mention our sponsor again, which is the Empowering Seniors Group. If you'd like to learn more about the Empowering Seniors, you can do so online at empoweringseniors.info. We'll take a short break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Did Did you know 1 in 3 people will visit a nursing home? Did you know that once there, they will stay there for an average of 3 years? Did you also know there are insurance options that can help cover this experience? Hi, I'm Tracy Ferris with Blue Water Health Insurance. It's not cheap to stay in a full-fledged nursing home. Long-term care insurance can help you or a loved one get the care they need and deserve. If you wait until you need it, you may be too late. Give me a call at 435-890-8155.
Want an inexperienced surgeon?
Okay, nurse, I'm ready for the scalpel.
How about an inexperienced airline pilot?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain, and I'm terrified.
Experience matters, and we have it.
Hi, this is Sid Roeder with Achievement Realty. I am a senior real estate specialist.
I'd love to meet with you face-to-face and give you a free consultation and market analysis. Call me today at 512-6406. Then list it, sell it, and move on.
Hi, this is James Stevens with White Pine Funeral Services. At White Pine, we value compassion, integrity, and service. We are committed to serving you and treating your family as our family. We will be here when you need us most, to listen, to help, and to provide exactly what your circumstances require. At White Pine, we promise to dedicate our time and attention to you and your family. We invite you to come by and meet us. We're confident you'll feel a difference.
And welcome back to the Senior Moment Show. My name is Bryce Patton, here with Sid Roeder, my co-host, and we've been speaking with Dan Hamilton, the community liaison at Atlas Home Care and Hospice. He's been telling us all about home health, hospice, home care. Dan, before the break, we were talking about, you were going a wonderful description of what hospice is. And if people have questions about hospice, when to start looking at that, just so they could be prepared, and they want to reach out to you and pick your brain, what's a good contact number?
Oh, sure. Call me on my cell phone. I'll be glad to answer your call, any questions, concern, whatever you might have. My cell phone number is, it's an Idaho number, 208-914-8894, 208-914-8894.
All right, we're not going to hold it against you that you're Idaho, but that's okay. So I guess that is one of those things is when is it appropriate to start talking about hospice?
It's always appropriate to start talking about earlier rather than later. I mean, by the time we often get in to start working with a hospice patient, sometimes we have days or maybe a couple weeks, before the person is passing away. But we have some wonderful tools to make sure your loved one is kept comfortable or in a position to receive some level of help prior to that really big downturn that they're going to go through. So look at the conditions that they currently have. What diagnoses do your loved ones have? Do they have chronic heart failure? Are they dealing with issues that are going to be chronic in nature that eventually may lead to them passing away? If we're talking about those kinds of things, they may be qualifiable for it earlier rather than later. And it's just a matter of asking that question, having that conversation with your doc, or calling us and having that conversation, because we can at least look through the documentation and diagnoses and see if there's something there that would qualify for them to be getting some help right now. That really not only helps the patient, but the family members as well, who are often in the home working with the loved ones, and it's becoming more and more difficult, and they don't know necessarily what they can do or who they can reach out to. Well, reach out to us. We can at least look into it and find out if that is appropriate.
Yeah, maybe I can even pipe in with a personal experience there, Dan, because that's the part I feel that nobody wants to talk about hospice. And as a family member, I was able to at least partially observe an uncle of mine passing. And I do have to say, one thing I was not aware of is that the nurse helps the family members understand the process better and understanding the signs of what happens in the passing. And I found that extremely comforting and soothing to have someone that guided us through that process.
It's very therapeutic process, isn't it?
Yes.
As a family member who's watching this thing go down, and you don't necessarily know what to do, and you feel kind of helpless. And we've been through this so many times that we can really be at the minimum, kind of a shoulder to cry on, but also just somebody who you can bounce questions off of. We have a lot of answers. We can tell you what's probably coming up next. There are certain signs to look for as you get through that process. And they're going to be a tremendous help when the end does come. Explaining and helping through what comes next, because it is a little bit mind-blowing what you're going to be doing once that happens, and you're not in a frame of mind as a loved one, as a family member, because somebody I love and cherish for my entire life has now just passed away, and I don't know what to do. So to have that nurse there, that chaplain, that social worker, whoever it is, there's usually a team that can be there to help, is invaluable.
Wow. I mean, I'm thinking about just what a load off your shoulders this would be to have someone there with you, walking you through that, because it doesn't happen every day for most of us, but it does for you guys.
Right.
I was just curious then, another thing that brought to mind, you talked about home health being covered through insurance. Is hospice covered through insurance?
Yes, hospice is always covered 100% through your insurance, especially when we're talking about Medicare and Medicare Advantage kind of plans. Your insurance is almost always going to automatically convert over to straight Medicare when you are on hospice, and it's all covered 100%. So, take that. That's another thing you need to take out of your mind right now, because I know you're a lot of people are thinking, well, I don't know if I can afford it. You can. It's covered. Don't worry about it.
Now, is there other things besides just the nurse? What about like hospital beds or other equipment that they might need during that time? Does hospice cover that stuff as well?
Yeah, we bring in all that equipment. Well, the DME equipment is what we call it, direct medical equipment. So we're going to bring those in, the hospital beds, the mattress toppers, the bedside tables, the commode if there's a need for it, wheelchairs, walkers, all that kind of stuff is going to be provided. Oxygen if it's needed. So, we can even bring in... let's see. I don't want to get into some of the gory details. There are some, but stuff to help with toileting and things like that. It's all covered. Take us up on it, because those things are expensive. You go and buy a bag of Depends. Those things are pricey, and it's covered under hospice. So that's why we say if you get us in a little bit early, we're going to help with some expenses too.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. We're already at the end of our show, sadly. So let me mention our sponsor one more time, which is the Empowering Seniors Group. If you'd like to learn more about them, you can do so online at empoweringseniors.info, or you can email us at empoweringseniorscv@gmail.com, and the CV stands for Cache Valley. This is the Senior Moments Show. We hope you tune in again next week.